literally.
Denise, how are you?
There we go. I'll do that and I can see. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
See some familiar faces. That's lovely. And I don't mean the black ones with the white splotches. That's true. So we're just waiting for a few more to join before we start. So
Yeah, I've got people coming into the waiting room, so I'm just allowing them in for you guys.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Natasha is helping us from Canada. She does live in the UK, but she's away, so she's letting you all in.
I've got Dad upstairs watching the news, and it's all doom and gloom and stuff like that. So I'm quite enjoying having a break and coming and seeing all of you lovely people. And I'm having Thermomix withdrawal. I used their TM5 yesterday.
I saw your son post a photo and said, "Mum can't even stop using a Thermomix when she's on holiday."
To Google how to pre-clean it, I couldn't remember.
Well, can you imagine when I used to go to India and before I gave my parents the TM6, they had the TM31. And so I was going back 10 years. But it was still a fabulous, appliance. And it still works. So
yeah,
that's really great.
Absolutely. Are you guys happy if I spotlight you now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do that. And that.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Okay. So how many people do we have, Natasha, on the call?
We currently have, how do I find that out? Hang on.
19, including us.
Right. 1, 2. About 20-ish.
About 20 years. Okay. Because we have about 65 registered. Yeah. So if we just maybe while people are just signing in, they could tell us where they're calling from or where they're viewing from. That would be great to know because we have countrywide customers today. It'd be really lovely just to hear the shout outs. I did look at the registrations and 99.9% already own a Thermomix. I think there's only one customer or potential customer, shall I say, because we're going to place the order any minute of mine who put not yet. But I think most of us are TM6 owners. And we're just really excited to see things about the cutter. So let us know what the chat is.
What have you made so far as well? That'd be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Right, in the chat, I'm just trying to open the chat now because it's not opening very well on my screen. Let's do that. More chat. Where's my chat phone? Because that's an important thing for your host to be able to see the chat. And the cat.
Mine's under more and then chat.
There we go. Right. So Denise is on, and she's in St. Ives in Cambridgeshire. And then we have another Denise who is in Bromsgrove in Worcestershire. Helen's in Sheffield. Manesh is in Cambridge. Donna is in London. Karen McKinley's just joined from Northern Ireland, but she is from Northampton. Lovely to see you, my love.
Yes, you too, Natasha. You too.
So have you done the move?
Yeah, last June. So yeah, done the move, and yeah, it's okay. It's a quieter pace of life, but yeah, good.
Imagine. Excellent. And well, welcome. We've also got Judy from Barry in South Wales. We've got Jodie from London.
George, could you close my door, thanks. Oops.
Brilliant. I can start to see the name of the chat coming in. Okay, so I think this is a good time to start. And an obvious start, because we are recording this. So feel free to add your chat in, and Natasha will comment or stop us when we want to. So welcome everyone on this wonderful Wednesday evening. My name is Ankita Stopper, and I have got my wonderful colleague Rachel on the other screen, and I will explain to you how we have teamed up. Thermomix UK have teamed up two different teams this month to beat the battle, and we are in a battle to make, well, to actually beat each other in the sales this month with our relatively small teams, because they've actually teamed us up with similar team sizes and similar team profiles. And you know, we're not really adversaries in this business. We are actually all friends. So I reached out to Rachel and I said, well, instead of beating each other, let's do a joint class. It's so much nicer, and that way we can look after all our customers so much more, and tell them about the cutter. And here it is. So this is a cutter. I know many people have been waiting for the cutter forever, especially if you've been a Thermomix TM5 or TM6 owner. They were out of stock after 3 days in January last year. So every single question we got was, when's the cutter available? Is the cutter available? How can I get my hands on the cutter? And so we're really proud to say that the cutter is now available to buy. And I know many of you have bought the cutter. But I also wanted to mention that if you are not a Thermomix owner, or you have friends who are interested in Thermomix, we will plug the current customer offer at the end of the class. But what we would really love for you, and our goal for this particular class, is that you enjoy it, that you share it with your friends and family. And we're really looking for referrals back to your advisor. So whether that is my customer in particular, or Rachel's, I know a lot of them are Natasha's as well, or our individual team members, which is how you were invited to this class, please go back to your advisor with any of those referrals. And also, this cutter is actually £99. So if you are buying it alone, it is £99. But the brilliant thing what Thermomix head office have done this month is, if you are an existing customer and you host a demonstration, you actually get £30 off the cutter or any Thermomix accessory, because our host gifts are blade cover peeler or £30 e-voucher, and you can actually get the cutter with that £30 discount for £69. So I think it's an amazing deal, especially since, you know, it is the hottest ticket purchase item on Thermomix, of course, other than the Thermomix. And we just wanted to let you know. So before I'm going to open my box, I thought I would just pass it over to Rachel for her to say hi, let everyone know where she is, and then she will pass it back to me for the first recipe.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for joining us from all over the globe, as well as the UK. So my name is Rachel, and I am a team leader and advisor. I have been for 4 years, so it was my anniversary 2 weeks ago. So I went into lockdown a week after joining. So a lot of my startup was actually doing these Zoom cooking classes. So it feels like I'm back in lockdown, because nowadays I do a lot in person and at our studios around the UK. So it is nice to be online with a lot of my customers that actually I don't get to see as often as my local ones. So Thank you all for joining. Would you like me to say what the recipes are, or do you want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
So we're going to be making 3 recipes that are all using the cutter tonight. We're going to be doing a blue cheese and pear salad with hazelnuts, a Buddha bowl, which is it's like salad with chicken and things. You'll see, it's very, very nice. It's one of my favorites. And a quick sliced pickle, which sounds really, really interesting, and you can use for various things. So that is tonight's menu. I hope you enjoy it. I think Natasha's going to share the links for the cockadoo in the chat. I sent her those earlier. And of course, throughout the evening, I'm sure we'll recommend others as well. Oh, and that ding is just because I did the rice beforehand, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. And just so we are clear, because we actually asked the question, are you already Thermomix owners? Because most people said yes, we are just concentrating on the cutter today and not showing the full functions of the Thermomix. So if there is anyone who is new to Thermomix or has yet to purchase, do let us know, and we can cover you in another class or a face-to-face demo as well. But here is the cutter, and I haven't taken it out purely because I want to show people how it's boxed and how we kind of unpack it in order to do the recipes. I'm going to be making the pear and blue cheese salad first, but if I open my box live on this, you will see that you have various different pieces of the cutter, and now I can put that. You also get a really nice book with it as well. So here is the bowl of the cutter, which actually fits inside the Thermomix bowl. This is the cutter shaft, and just be warned, a lot of people lose it, throw it away accidentally, or accidentally break it. Already in the last month, people have said to me, Ankita, I need a new cutter shaft. The cutter shaft is actually available to buy as an accessory because they know that, just like the butterfly whisk, which a lot of people do damage accidentally. So that is the cutter shaft. And then what we have...
I had mine eaten. So if us as advisors can do it, then definitely you guys can do it too. So it is definitely worth knowing.
And how was yours eaten?
Because it's not bright green like it should be, and you forget that it's in the machine. And I'm sure when you're demonstrating it, you'll show people, and I left it in there, and then I went to do icing sugar.
Ah, you know what? My husband always gets slated at these things. He used to leave my measuring cup inside the bowl. And because I have so many measuring cups, yeah, I've done that to measuring cups as well. So yeah, very easy to happen. So here is the blade of the cutter, and we have 2 sides to the blade. One is the slicing, which is number 2, and the other, which is number 1, which is the grating slide. And actually in Rachel's recipe, we're actually doing both of those things as well. And then you have the sort of pushy down thing, which is there. But I'm going to show you live how to do it. And I'm going to start with the pear and blue cheese salad with hazelnuts. And again, we all know...
Just 1 second. I'm starting, I think.
Sorry?
Do I not start? I start with the chicken and then it goes to you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go for it.
Otherwise my chicken won't be cooked.
Whoops.
And Kita's keen to start her salad. She's telling me about how nice it was.
Do you know what? Like everything, we always make these things before, and I kind of had to eat it at least once or twice. Go for it. Sorry, Rachel.
Delicious.
Sorry, Rachel, before you start, sorry, Rachel, we've just had a few things come up in the chat actually about, and Keitha mentioned that there should be a book that came with the cutter, and there's quite a few people who have commented then they didn't get a book. And Keita, can you just clarify, was it just a manual that was in the box?
It is just a manual, but
Okay,
what we can do with anyone who is on this call, we actually have a PDF version of it as well. So as the follow-up, I'll add all the e-copies of the information that we have available.
Perfect. Sorry,
Because it was kind of, it was an insert. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be quiet now.
No, that's great. Thank you.
And we will also later be discussing the collections and things that are all on Cookadoo as well, but we will do that a little bit later. So mine is the Buddha bowl. There's a TM5 and a TM6 version. I only have ever owned a TM6, so I'm not quite sure what the difference is there. The TM6 will do a TM5 version anyway. It might be to do with the temperature of the rice cooking, but I'm doing the TM6 one this evening. When you scroll down, something a lot of people don't realise, and something I will just hint on right now because I'm going to click ahead a stage. I have cooked the rice already in my Thermomix, just because that took 15 minutes and I didn't think you'd want to watch a pot boil, basically. But if you haven't done rice in your Thermomix, do give it a go. There's so many different recipes that you can do, and it comes out so it's not chunked together and starchy. It's actually really nice and fluffy. So use your if I do it there, you'll be able to see, use your little hook on where it looks like a key that just fits in there. You just grab a plate. So if you just grab a plate if you are moving it, because the steam's going to come out and that might drip on the bottom. And we can put that on the side to cool a little bit down before we move on. So on the screen, there'll be, if you look at the actual instructions, which normally we just press start cooking it, don't we? And we just click on through. You can do that, but if you don't want to, because actually maybe you're low carb, so you're not doing the rice, or you've got some rice left over, you can literally click on the number 2 and that'll take you to the next stage in the recipe. So that's skipped 13 steps. So it's saved our finger tapping. So let me just tip out the water. So you can use the exact same jug because that's only had some water in. So at this point, you're not needing a second jug. We're going to add our soy sauce. And I prepared everything, but I didn't open the soy sauce. I got everything else ready. There's always one thing you forget, isn't there? So 30 grams of soy sauce. It didn't state light or dark. I don't know if you ladies ever have a preference when it doesn't state. I never know which one to do if it doesn't actually tell me.
I always go for light.
Always light. Well, I'll note that in future. So we're doing toasted sesame oil. So these ingredients you can they're readily available in Tesco. There's nothing unusual that I'm using, which is a common question I get asked when I'm doing a recipe. So your chicken breasts, they're just sliced into pieces. You could even buy the sliced up chicken. I have really taken to Marks and Spencer's chicken. It doesn't seem to lose all the water out of it. It's actually quite nice actually compared to the frozen or other supermarkets ones. I found actually it keeps its shape better, if you like. So that's gone into the bottom of the bowl. That's basically going to cut it and cook it at the same time. So it's almost like marinating it. And then once it's cooked, it's going to shred it, but we'll get to that bit in a minute. So like always, it's got a photograph on there. It wants my steamer basket on the top. If the steamer basket's on the top, don't try to cook your rice in it. It won't do anything. If it's in the jug, that's when you're cooking. So it's just there to disperse that steam. And it's already set 8 minutes, 100 degrees, and off it goes. And now I'm going to hand over to Ankita, whilst that cooks my chicken for me.
Brilliant. And how long is the cook time, Rachel?
So that's 8 minutes. So at home, that's when I would go away and do something else rather than sit there and stir. So yes, it's quite a quick, easy dish really.
It is. I mean, I think it's a big fan amongst the advisor community. I absolutely love it. You just happened to pick it first today, so there was no point both of us making it. Okay, so back to me with the salad, and with all these recipes, the first couple of steps was that I literally had to weigh pears and either cos or chicory into a bowl. Now, this recipe actually fed 4 people, but I'm now an empty nester, so I've actually halved the recipe. So I'm doing half of everything, which is there. But once we get to the steps where it says the cutter, you are then following it step by step. And I know the screen isn't that easy to read in the light, so I'm going to read it for you. And it says, insert Thermomix cutter shaft and basket in to the bowl. So if I lift up, you can see my cutter shaft is just going to fit like that. I then put the bowl on top of that into my Thermomix, and the next step says place the cutting disc with the 1 on top. And again, I'm just going to show you if you can see that says 2 and that is 1, so I want 1 on top, so I put that there. Press next, and then we put the lid on. So we now have our lid, which fits onto this like that, and it says place cutter lid into the position and insert the pears vertically in the wide part of the feeder, and then insert the pusher, and then we were actually going to turn the selector to thick. So the wonderful thing is now it actually gives you an opportunity to do thick or thin slices. And for this recipe, we want to do thick, but you can kind of see that you have that thin option too. So I'm just going to turn it too thick. That was 1. Let's put the second one in. And that was the second. Press next. And what we have is these beautiful sliced pears, which are yay thick and took literally no time to do. Now it does say divide them into 4 bowls, but again, if you remember, I'm doing 2. So I will do that off screen because you don't need to see me doing that. Press next, and we are now going to put the cutter back into the position with the same blade up. And now we're actually going to put our chicory in as well. So I have it there. And this time again, it's thick. I mean, it's such a pleasure to make that. And you can see here my nicely shredded chicory like that. Now, the right next of the recipe says add a tablespoon of walnut oil to a large bowl. When we transfer the lettuce, so it basically toss. So I've got my walnut oil just there. Divide the lettuce into plates, and we're just going to arrange it. So in fact, I can do that now with you. Let me just grab a plate. And this is actually a really beautiful, simple recipe that takes absolutely no time, but is very, very seasonal with these wonderful pears that are now in stock. So let me put those quite nicely.
It's quite nice for a starter as well. A lot of people, dinner parties seem to be coming back in. Cost of living and things. People are having friends over again, which for a period of time, a lot of people went out, didn't they? And I thought, actually,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
better compared to the traditional melon or a soup. If it was in the summer, as well as a lunch thing, it looked quite professional when you sent me the photograph.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's the whole thing of using different colored vegetables. I mean, with having some blue cheese on it, it can actually look quite impressive and very, very nice. So we're then going to arrange some blue cheese over this and having some chopped hazelnuts, which I roasted before. So I don't know if you can see it, but I will take a picture and put it on our Instagram for that. And I might even eat a little bit while you're doing the rest of the chicken recipe, Rachel. So over to you.
Thank you. That looks nice. The only problem with these soups is in classes, we all get to eat it. You guys get to eat it, we get to eat it. It's probably why I put on weight after lockdown and not in lockdown. But still, so my chicken's just got 1 more minute left. I'm going to explain what I'm going to do. Now, the cutter, which I've got mine over here, this fits straight into your bowl, as you've seen with Peter. If your bowl is dirty, it doesn't matter because this is all dishwasher safe. So you're only going to actually get the dirt on the outside, and then you're going to have to wash it up and put it in the dishwasher anyway. So if you only have 1 bowl, you don't need to really be worried about short on time and things. Once this chicken's done, you could actually put it straight in the jug. If you don't want to do that, if you want to wash it up, or if you have bought a second bowl or got one of the deals with a second bowl, then you can do what I'm going to do and actually put it directly into a clean jug, and then the inside is the only thing that's going to need washing up. So just to point that out, in case you're like me and actually don't want a lot of fat and just want to put everything in the dishwasher at the end of the night. It's just got 3 seconds to go. So it's cooked our chicken. Just be careful when you take the lid off because of the steam. Always open it away from you. I'm sure you've already found that out. So it says to reserve some of the chicken juices, and it does make a big difference. I've accidentally thrown them away before now. We're going to use them at the end for the dressing. It will add other things as well, but it does actually make a big difference. So do put those aside. So let me just drain some of those juices off. Obviously, our chicken is totally cooked through, so there's no risk of any illnesses or anything there. So we're just going to put the chicken juice into a bowl or a little jug. You could put them directly into a jug if you wanted to serve your dressing separately. So just drain that off. And then it says to insert our measuring cup. So we did have our simmer basket on the top, but we do want our little cup. The handy thing is when you get a second bowl, and a lot of people are quite nicely surprised by it, you do get a second simmer basket with it, which is handy because my rice is on the side, but I have a simmer basket. So because sometimes you do need it inside. If something is inside, you don't need another one on top, but sometimes it's handy to have more than one, isn't it? So it's just going to shred that chicken for a couple of seconds. If you look at it and think, actually, it started to break down anyway, you can just tap on your circles and reduce that time. Again, if you are cooking something and you think they are tried and tested, but sometimes they do need a little more time, you can alter the circles as well in a guided recipe. So you are always in control. So just 2 seconds. Okay. Unlock for me. Sometimes I find when it's hot, it takes a second or two. I think it doesn't want the steam jumping up at you. So it has, if I come close, I don't want to tip it all over my kitchen. Can you see how nicely shredded that is? But I don't know what the lighting's like in here. So that is nicely shredded. So we haven't had to, the same when you do like a pulled pork or pulled duck with the pancake, you don't have to sit there shredding it with your knife and fork. It's literally seconds and it's done and it's beautiful. So I'm going to leave that in the jug to the one side. It's really nice cold the next day. You can have this hot or cold, it's absolutely fine. Now, one thing it will tell you to do is now put the jug on with the lid without the cup, and you can put a bowl on there to weigh out the ingredients. I have weighed out all my ingredients earlier. The reason why it does this, where as owners, I'm sure you all know, it usually weighs things as it goes along and it cooks, doesn't it? With this, because you're weighing it into the cutter, I think because you're then pushing it down and the whole thing is a scales, that would actually affect the weight. So it does say just to pre-weigh your ingredients. Now, I do this recipe a lot. I estimate if you've got half a cucumber left, if you've got a little bit of lettuce, just put whatever you fancy in the salad bowl. You don't have to be too particular. It's a lovely, lovely recipe to do odds and ends that's in your fridge. And a lot of people say, well, what bowl do I put on top? Any bowl, because you're going to tear it back to zero. So any bowl, a cereal bowl or a mixing bowl, as long as it kind of fits on the lid, it's absolutely fine. So we will go straight on to putting our cutter in place. We put the shaft in there. It will only go in one way, so you don't need to worry. Our bowl, as I said, doesn't matter if the jug was clean or dirty. And so it's weighed the carrots, weighed the avocado, cucumber, tomato, red onion, lettuce, and set that aside. Now, I love the fact that it's grey and it's white because it does say the numbers on there, but I know a lot of people might struggle to actually see those, or they might have to hold it quite far away. My sight's not great, so I appreciate the fact that you've got a colour, and on the picture where it normally says what you need to put, you know, your accessories and things in there, it actually shows you a picture. So instead of going, it says number 1, but is that up or down? It literally has a thing, so the grey one's up. So there it is. So you put your lid on, and again, this can face the front or the back. So if you've got little ones helping you in the kitchen, you can do whatever you need. The same if you've got low cupboards. If you need to put it at the front or the back, that works exactly the same. So it does have some information that you can read through. This is doing thickness, and it says, so this is for the, did it say for the carrots? I don't think it actually told me what to put in. It's because I didn't read all the information today.
It's so hard when we're actually cooking and talking at the same time.
Lettuce, sorry. So
Well, you just taught me something, because I didn't know that the blade had the 2 different colors on it.
Yes, I prefer that than trying to look at the numbers. So your lettuce goes in. And this is also really nice. If you don't want to do a recipe, you can just chop up your salads and things in it. We're going to be talking about the mode later, which is just that. You just use it how you want to. Yeah. That's like my lettuce. Just going to stop it because it shouldn't have that much resistance actually. So don't apply. If it ever doesn't sound right, you can tap your silver dial, like you turn it on and off straight away. It's doing it. It just maybe got that little bit stuck. You can tap your silver dial and it will stop whatever you're doing. So even if it's on a time thing, that's quite important to know actually. So if it doesn't sound right, don't panic, just press the button and see what's going on. It might be that something's got stuck. Okay. Maybe I did it a little bit quick. There we go. It does that. And that's that done. So that's the lettuce. It's great to unclip. I can show you. So my lettuce is nicely sliced. Looks like a Subway by the time you've ended this recipe. So we'll pop that in the bowl. So this recipe serves 4. Again, you can tailor that quantity to suit you. So this one has sliced. We're now going to move on. It actually tells you how and where to put it in your bowl. That's how precise the recipe is. Put the chicken to the left, put the avocado to the right. So if you don't want to be that particular, I'm never that particular, you can just arrange it however you like. Again, it is going with the black side or the grey side upwards. That can go in there. And we are doing the onion. Put it at the front this time. I'll show you something different. My slicer's not going in and out. There we go. That was our problem. Doesn't normally do that. Right. The onion is being sliced thinly. And then arranged by the chicken. And I found when it does the beetroot and things, the same with the onion. I mean, look how thin that is sliced. I mean, my husband likes his sharp knives. Anyone that knows him and has been here will know how thinly he slices his vegetables. He could beat this. So, and it's so quick, isn't it? So we're putting our onions out. So it does actually, I've done a few recipes now, it does get you to empty this bowl in between each ingredient. I think because it doesn't want it to get too full and get up to your plate, because that would stop it turning. It only takes 2 seconds to actually empty anyway. So pop that in there. So next is going our tomatoes. See, these next few recipes, they've actually got a picture of a person holding what I'm supposed to be putting in it. The lettuce didn't, that's what threw me. So the tomatoes are all going in. And we're doing these on thick. Job done. I can't slice 2 tomatoes that quickly. So again, it's nicely sliced our tomatoes. I did have to cut them in half just to get them through. If you get the nice, I think they're called plum, aren't they? They're more like a pear shaped. They might be able to be kept whole and then sliced, which might get you that more professional looking finish. But I couldn't see them in shops, so we just bought normal ones. Hang on again. I will change it over to the other mode in a minute. Cucumbers. That depends. Yes, that's going to fit fine. Again, thick. That's 1 whole cucumber in what, 3 seconds? For the sake of roll. So this will be
Rachel, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you did your tomato just now, you can tell I've been home because I've said that really Canadian, didn't I? Sorry. It didn't twist it at all. It just slices it. Like sometimes when you try to slice a tomato, if you do it with a not right knife, it just squishes your teeth.
No, it didn't. It didn't squish it at all.
See, that's amazing.
You
That's
asked me the
absolutely.
other day. I did strawberries, didn't I? And that was on a private chat between me and you. And I sent you a picture. And the strawberries were about a week in my fridge. So
Wow.
they weren't gone off or anything, but they were soft and it sliced them nicely. And that was my husband's birthday cake. They went on the top, but I'd had my delivery like about 5 days before. So I was like, it's going to squish, and they were perfect. And the beetroot even does it so you can see through it. So that's how thin the slice without actually affecting it, which is quite incredible, really. So your avocado. Now I didn't want to peel it because I didn't want it going all brown. So let's hope it's a nice one, because avocados either there or not, aren't they? And they don't last very long. So I'll pop that in there. Again, if you don't like any of the ingredients, or I know people that are allergic to tomatoes and things, just leave it out, move on. Add other things. You could add some chilies in here. Anything that you've got left. That's it. That's the avocado. I'm not going to do too much avocado. I just done enough to show you how it's sliced it, just because it does go brown and I don't want that in my lunch for the next day. So I just wanted to show you how well it sliced my avocado. Again,
Oh, no, that's so impressive. Again, avocado is so hard to slice normally, that thin.
It is, especially without it going to mush in your hands, isn't it? So we're now turning over our slicer and we're going to grate. Now, this is the great thing. It's one blade. I've got one that attaches to my other device before I had my Thermomix, and there's a box of these. So so then you have the device and a box full of these. This is one thing that does actually pour effectively for slicing. So we've got our white facing up this time, and now we're doing carrots. This works well with cheese as well. So anything you grate basically. So carrot go in. And there's a large section and a small section as well. So if you wanted to feed it in particularly straight down and it's something like a thin carrot, you can do that as well. The other night I had so this is a thick grate. Okay, there's a little Instagram video for you. So the other night I had a fish pie, but it had potato gratin on the top rather than a mash. That was really nice, and that was done with the slicing mode as well, and that made it really quick. So I used my potato peeler to start with, and then put my cutter in. So it really got all the work of the gadget, and I didn't even film it. What a waste! So arrange the carrot, the avocado. The avocado goes in the middle. Remove the cutter and the shaft, and then I make the yogurt dressing. So I feel like I need a breather and a little drink. So Ankita, do you want to do yours? Then I'll do the dressing. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Or what I can do is, yes, absolutely. Pass it to me, and I know what we're going to do. So what I'm going to ask Natasha to do for me is actually take us off speaker. And I would love to show people, because often when we do these calls, people say, we don't know where the recipe is. And we can't see it in the filters. So if you have your phone out, could you grab your phone with your cookie dough, and we will do a little tutorial on.
Do you want me to share my screen and do it what you're telling me to do, or is it easier for people to do it on their?
Maybe it's easier for people to do it with me.
What did you want me to do? Take people. You just
you can stop the spotlight, and we can see people doing it. Yes, perfect, great. Right, everyone got their phone and on cookie dough. I can see that. That's fabulous. So if you can go to your cookie dough app on your phone, the most important thing to make sure that you're getting the most out of all of these recipes is by using the filters correctly. So if you will see when you go to your cookie dough app, there's always a picture, or if you haven't put a picture, do put your picture on, which is in the top right hand side. And that's when you click it, and you can see the first thing says membership status, the second says preferences, then my devices. If you have more than one, you can link all of them together, and then tutorials, etc. So we're going to click on preferences, and when you get to the preferences tab, you can see various different cooking styles, and you can tick your preferences to cooking styles. You've got veggie lover, easy and everyday. I actually have creative and adventurous, and then you have traditional cooking. You can actually add all of them if you want, or none of them. But then again, it makes your cookie dough, which kind of is acting like, you know, AI and intelligence. The more you cook certain foods, the more it tells you what your preferences are and would you like to cook this next. Then you get to the accessories, and you can add which accessories you have. So I own a Thermomix Friend, so I can press that. I also have a blade cover. I have a blade cover peeler, and now we can add the cutter. And this is not a sensor class, but the sensor, which is a sort of meter thermometer, is also can be added. When you kind of scroll down a little bit more, and this is the important part, you add your Thermomix version, which obviously will show you what Thermomix you have, but the language and the countries are really, really important. Now, the more even if you're just English speaking, when you just add English and UK, you don't get that many recipes. But if you actually then press that little button which says update filter, and I can see people doing this, which I love. Languages, you can add the languages. So if we just pretend that we are just English speaking, but obviously, you know, for me, for example, I don't speak Italian, but I love the Italian recipes, so I add them anyway. And my husband is Polish, so I add the Polish onto that. And then I have English. So I have Italian, Polish, and English for my languages. But the country and the region is the most important part, which I'm going to share with you. There are lots of countries within the vulva community that also speak English as one of their main languages. And if you start to add those as the sort of countries that you also want to add, you will suddenly realize that you're increasing your cookie dough availability 2-3-fold as well. So my recommendations are to add Australia, Canada, South Africa, Switzerland, United Kingdom, United States. And then people think, oh my God, what she's going to suggest now. Singapore, Thailand, China, Denmark, Malaysia, Sweden.
It also actually works if you just untick all of them and just put the languages you speak.
Yeah, do you know what? Then I find, yeah, that is true. I personally go for a lot of the Asian recipes, and I find, example, I'm trying to think, Malaysia has some amazing curries that are all in English, and even the Chinese platform, so many of their recipes are actually in English, which you suddenly have that. Now make sure you save it, and your cookie dough filters will increase. And now if you're then doing the search engine for anything, you will suddenly see that instead of 20, 30, 40 recipes, you now have 140 for those. So make sure you regularly update your cookie dough functions, because sometimes when we have a new accessory like the cutter, when we have new modes, you want to be making sure that you have the availability. It was really interesting, Rachel. I didn't introduce how long I've had a Thermomix, but you said 4 years.
4 years.
I've had a Thermomix for 15 years. So I'm pre-digital and pre-cookie dough. And so the fact is, when cookie dough first came out in 2015, there was 20,000 recipes. And actually in English language, there was about 8,000. So the fact that we are now over 100,000 recipes, and every week in every country, we have a new collection, I think it's just amazing. It just gets better and better. And I really, truly, we are owners first rather than just advisors. To see how Thermomix is always ahead of the game is just a real pleasure to see. So that was a little cookie dough and preferences. Back to Rachel to finish that recipe.
Yep, that's fine. So I have plated at 1. I'd say this can even go further. So I plated at 1, and now we're going to make the dressing to go on top. I always say it's nice to drizzle it on, but also have a bowl or a jug of it separately, because you are layering it up. The sauce might only be on the top, and actually you want it all the way through. It does say to add your fresh herbs. This time of year, I don't have so many in the garden, so I'm just going to put some dry herbs in there instead. In the summertime, they all nicely flourish out in the veg patch, but not as of yet. But spring is very much out, isn't it? So it won't be long. So salt and pepper going in. Yeah. I don't think my food ever tasted so good before I had a Thermomix. The seasonings and the herbs and spices are so nice. And you learn so much on how to put them together. And the main question I get asked from non-owners is, your children are never going to learn to cook. My children cook all of the time. To the point that earlier today, I'll just tell you this little story whilst I'm putting in the yogurt. I was doing school with my big two in the other room, and my son comes in, he's 3, with his toy Thermomix. He's got a lemon out the fridge, he's got his little safety knife, a chopping board, honey, and he makes himself lemonade in his toy Thermomix. And I'm thinking, the 3-year-old knows how to make fresh lemonade. My job here is done. He does know how to cook. So it really is a whole family business for me. So he's grown up with his Thermomix because he's 3, and obviously I've had my Thermomix for 4 years. So the yogurt is going in there, and yes, you will have all noticed I cheated and bought it. You can make lovely yogurt in your Thermomixes, so do give that a go if you haven't already. Mayonnaise going in. Again, if you wanted to make your mayonnaise in your Thermomix in advance, it does taste so much better than store-bought. And there's also different varieties like vegan and things if you are dairy free. So add your reserved chicken juices. So this is the magic bit. And you can see it's got that soy sauce and everything that we put in the chicken. It really does deepen that flavour. So insert the lid. 15 seconds. And then I'm just pressing preview to double check. It is just dressing served over your salad and extra to the side, and then it suggests cashew nuts. So and Peter's first one had hazelnuts. This one's got cashew nuts. Nuts of various varieties have so many actual health benefits. So if you wanted to add nuts and seeds instead, then make it what you would. So this is a lovely dressing then to go on top. And depending on your yogurt, depends on your thickness. If you're doing something like Slimming World and you want to use fat-free, again, this is actually a really good recipe for that because it doesn't have too much oil and things in, which some of them do. So that is my recipe done. So we're going back over to you for our last recipe.
Oh, great. Thank you. That looks really good now. I wish we were closer so I could come over for dinner, Rachel. But it's interesting what you said about your 3-year-old cooking because you know, as many people in the Thermomix community know, I broke my leg at a Thermomix conference. I won't tell you why, but I broke my leg and I was off my feet for 3 months. My son, who was 10, did all the cooking. I sat down in a chair, and because he can read, he did all the cooking. And my funniest memory of that was that one day he wanted chocolate fondants, and instead of grabbing the dark chocolate, he picked milk chocolate. And as a real food connoisseur, he said, "This is too sweet for me, I can't eat it." But it was perfectly gooey, soft chocolate fondants, and I was very impressed, and so many people were, that a 10-year-old boy could cook. So we are back to me, and I'm going to make a quick pickle. Again, just showing the cutter, but what I want to also talk about is how are people really using the Thermomix to its full potential. Now, we know that it can cook, we know it can chop, we know it has, you know, can grind. I mean, 20 appliances in one. But one of the things that I often don't see people doing is sterilizing. You know, we're all about to be making pickles, jams, chutneys, or if anyone is, you know, with babies and needs to sterilize baby bottles, you don't need a sterilizer. The Varoma can perfectly sterilize bottles really, really well. And the pickle I'm going to make, I have a big Kilner jar because I really like these pickles. And yes, Lacey said she did baby bottles of mine. Well done, you. Because I went to someone's house recently and they had a Thermomix and they had a sterilizer, and I wanted to go, no, you don't need that. And then I also have these little cute Weck jars that I'm going to put some pickles in as well. So if we go to my recipe, and I just go back to my week because it's turned off because we were talking. It's the quick slice pickle with Thermomix Cutter. So I'm going to start, and the first thing it does say is set aside a sterilized jar. And so what I did before today is put my Varoma on here, and then I sterilized my bottles so they are nicely sterilized. And while Rachel was cooking, I washed my jar, my cutter. So cutter goes back in, and we are looking at the side one, which is now the grey side. Natasha and I learned that too because I don't pay attention. So, and now we are just going to place that there. And we are now, what am I putting in? Oh, the cucumber. Right. Okay. So I've got, in this bowl, I've got half a cucumber, which I've halved, couple of red onions and some radish. And we're just going to go one by one and put those in. So cucumber goes in to the thick. Now, the nice thing is I don't have to take everything out today in my recipe. So the radish and this is now asking for thin. Press next. And now what we want is the onion, which I'll cut in half. And that's also going to be thin. Now, what's really interesting about this is I'm going to show you the benefits of having two bowls. So it says transfer the sliced vegetables into your jars and set aside remove the cutter and the shaft, and we're basically then going to make the sauce. So let's have a look. Again, fabulously thin cutter pickle. But when you have two bowls, you can actually use them and you don't have to wash up and you don't have to do various other things. And for this particular recipe, I already pre-weighed the stuff because you don't need to see how you pre-weigh. But it was 150 grams of apple cider vinegar. And I actually am making my own apple cider vinegar these days. I have got a kombucha jar and a SCOBY that a friend gave me, and believe it or not, I haven't killed it. I killed sourdough, but my kombucha is doing really well. So 150 grams of apple cider vinegar, 60 grams of caster sugar, and 150 grams of water. It then says put your measuring basket on top, and it's going to heat for 3 minutes. So this is a wonderful time while we're doing that for anyone to ask any questions. Or maybe tell us, do you already have a cutter?
They're quiet this evening.
It's quiet, yeah. So
Trying
nobody
to
has
unmute
cutters?
and get everybody
Oh
back.
yeah,
I
brilliant.
Sorry.
I noticed this evening when I was logging on just to check what the Zoom code was, my email from Bulwark UK was actually all the different cutter collections. So you will have got that email today. It was as if they knew, and Keita and Rachel were doing this class out to everyone. So when you do your normal search on your Cookadoo, which is a bit like Google for food, isn't it? On the top left, you can drop the drop-down box and see collections. So if you put cutter in, they might not all come up, but as long as you've done your filters like Ankita's said, that you've now got your cutter, if you put cutter and collection on that drop-down menu, then there are some lovely recipe books there for you to actually have a flick through, or things like the ones we've done this evening, like the Buddha bowl. If you scroll down, it always says what collection they're from, so you can then click and find the collections that way as well. Was there some in the chat, Natasha?
Yeah, we've got a few people in the chat who, yep, they've got them. Karen McKinley says she's had the cutter and she's only made coleslaw, but you definitely need to be making that Buddha bowl thing because I've made that and it's my favorite. Cynthia says, yes, I have the cutter, but I need more ideas for the cutter recipe. So what you were just saying then about that new cutter collection, that's an amazing spot to start and have a look. Denise Hanbury has made the Buddha bowl. Who have we got in here? Jacqueline's got the cutter. Judy says, I sliced all the veg for a stew using my cutter for the first time yesterday and saved loads of time and work. I know I've got a lady who's got arthritis and she is just loving having the cutter because it's saving her a lot of pain and effort with her cooking. Jane says she has a cutter, but she's currently on the motorway watching. She's not driving, which is good to hear. She did try cheese, but it clogged up in the top. So would one of you tried grating cheese, and might you know why it clogged?
I have. I used hard cheese. Could it be the softness?
Yeah,
it might
I was
have
going to
been.
say if it was kind of not just soft, because I've done cheddar, but it was straight from the fridge. So if it's kind of cold
Room
and
temperature.
slightly hard, then soft. Yeah, so definitely give it another go. It might have just been that you were unlucky.
Brilliant. We've got one other question here. Karen says, what could I use instead of chicken for the Buddha bowl? I have a vegetarian daughter coming home this weekend.
So perfect. I mean, you can do tofu. So what you can either use sort of it's the fried tofu, so it's the slightly harder one, or you can use corn as well. So those two would work really, really well. Natasha, were you going to say something else?
I was just looking on cookie dough very quickly then, and I just typed in Buddha bowl, and then you get a choice of various different Buddha bowls that come up. You've got one with quinoa, and you've got one, I think it's got greens, and I'm guessing chickpeas and an egg on it. So there's a couple of choices of Buddha bowl. Buddha bowl with falafel, which would be good. Buddha bowl with tempeh, is that how you say it? T-E-M-P-E-H?
Oh, tempeh, yes, yes.
Tempeh. So yes, on cookie dough there are some choices of Buddha bowls that are vegetarian.
And then
Absolutely.
I just add that soya sauce in. So instead of doing the chicken juice, a little dash, maybe a tablespoon of boiling water with the soya sauce, just so that it gets that right consistency with the yogurt. You could then, some nice chickpeas browned off with some spices would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And tempeh is actually really nutritionally great. I have a friend who is vegan, and she actually makes her own tempeh and then boils it in broth in the Thermomix. I think I have the recipe, but I have to ask her for permission to share it. But it is on her website. So the liquid has heated, and I'm now just going to pour it into one of the small jars that I did, and then literally seal it. So I love these little wet jars. In fact, I love all kind of containers, especially when you're making all of this food. But I've got that with the, I think you can't see here, and then that's nicely, and it says place in the fridge for 2 days before consuming. But my other bowl or jar is looking a bit, so I think offline I might have to add some more, so it just makes a full jar, because I know this pickle is so delicious that you're just going to want to eat it. So yes, I think that is the sort of end of our cooking. But I just wanted to sort of thank you all for joining. Thank you for, to all the advisors from Rachel and my team who invited their customers to this class today. And I just wanted to say that, all advisors are independent and self-employed. We don't make any commissions on any accessories like the cutter or the blade peeler. We're simply doing it to sort of create a 5-star service and make you use your Thermomix more. So if you do have any friends or family, neighbors, or colleagues who are interested in the Thermomix, we would be really grateful that you could refer us to them, and let us know how that goes. Again, the cutter is available for existing customers for £69 if you host a demonstration. And just like Rachel and I were saying today, online is great because of the convenience. You can, a lot of people are at home after work and things like that. I mean, we are both after work ourselves, but there is something really special about having a face-to-face demo. You get to learn more. Even advisors have learned things today. There were hits and tips from Rachel that I didn't know about. And I've been a Thermomix owner for 15 years. So there's something quite special about face-to-face demos, and we would really love it if you reached out to us and hosted some demos, and also got a deal for yourself. This month's deal, just so I remind you, is the Thermomix. I'm going to grab a second bowl and the cutter for £1,348. And the wonderful thing about that is it unlocks our 0%. So it is then $56.17 for 24 months. It's a really great deal. And I really hope you enjoyed this and refer us to your friends. So thank you so much. Natasha,
may I
just some questions?
Lots of people saying thank you. They've really enjoyed it. Minesh made a really good point about the vegetarian option on that dish that you made using seitan, and that there's a recipe for that in cookie dough, which is great. I just wanted to add, if you look at the three of us, only because I am here with you if you don't mind, Rachel's got a young one, you've got mid ones, and I've got a 19-year-old who's now gone to uni with his. So genuinely, it's covered all three of our families with our children. And like you were saying, with that offer of £56, what's better than one but two? For anybody that is looking to have another one, good fun.
Yeah, and that's what we always say. It's always great to have two bowls. The second bowl is free this month, essentially free, which is £169. And when we don't believe in upselling, not at all. Sometimes there are offers, and we say, the Thermomix is the deal. The Thermomix is the deal. And it's the sort of the prize. Anything else is just extra. Sometimes, to get a second bowl, you can wait 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year later to see if you really need it. But most people do buy a second bowl, and when it's free, it's great. And the fact that the cutter is available and it's on offer, it's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. And then we have the 0%. So yes, it covers all three of us, with different family sizes, different nationalities, different ages, and different cultures. So thank you so much. And feel free to ask questions, or turn on your cameras or mic, because I will stop the video at this point, but we're happy to answer questions.
There we go.